Weatherman, don't tell me lies. I know it's all a big surprise. It's a hocus pocus magic that you do.
Good morning and welcome to WEITV. I am meteorologist David Knollhoff. Thank you for joining us for another weekly weather edition. Well, I'm going to take a little break here and get off the map, and I'm going to let you look at what's going on across Texas. We have Tropical Storm Bill, which is north of the Dallas area right now. It came on board across the Texas Gulf Coast early yesterday, and it presented itself with a lot of rainfall, not only into the Dallas I-35 corridor, but also down towards Corpus Christi and Houston. We're talking big amounts of rainfall, but the hill country, unfortunately, has seen a break and not getting a whole lot of rainfall from Tropical Storm Bill. We're going to take a look at the precipitation amounts across the Texas area. If you see over here towards the Corpus and Victoria area, Matagorda Bay, we're talking anywhere from about 8 to 10 inches of rainfall. Craziness. And then a little lower amounts as you go towards the north into Waco and into Dallas, 3 to 4 inches of rainfall. But over here, farther to our west into the hill country, we actually only saw anywhere from about a ½ inch to an inch of rainfall. And that's about all that we've received to date. So if we're going to see anything more, it's going to be tomorrow, Thursday, and into Friday, where we might see maybe another ½ inch to ½ inch. But in general, Tropical Storm Bill was not a big impactful system on the hill country. Okay, so taking a look at our forecast, like I was saying, into Thursday and Friday, rain chances are going to begin to diminish. Highs are going to be in the 80s and lows are going to be in the 70s, with an outside shot for some additional rainfall on Thursday, maybe a little bit on Friday towards the northern portion of the hill country. But into the weekend, mainly Friday and Saturday, going to be primarily dry with another return chance of rainfall early next week. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm meteorologist David Knollhoff.
Hello and welcome to a brand new segment we're calling We Love Science. Every week after Dave's Wacky Weather Report, we're going to be bringing you little tidbits about how the world around us works. So let's get started. This week I'd like to talk about glaciers. As you can see here on this graphic, a glacier is broken up into 3 main zones. You've got the accumulation zone, the ablation zone, and then you have an area where melting and calving occurs. So, melting and calving, let's talk about that. Calving is just a fancy word for breaking off. So, in this area, as the glacier extends over the ocean, because of its own weight, it'll fracture and calve into big icebergs that you see floating around in the ocean. So this is what hit the Titanic. Alright, let's talk about the ablation zone. The ablation zone is the area of the glacier where melting is occurring. Now, melting is not the only thing occurring. There's also something called sublimation occurring. Sublimation is basically where ice converts directly to a vapor, so air. In the accumulation zone, which is the part of the glacier that is furthest north or furthest uphill, snow is falling and accumulating, and as it falls it compacts and eventually compacts into ice. So as that's happening, gravity is pushing all this down. So when you're thinking about a glacier, think about a big river of ice. This big river of ice is flowing downhill, and ultimately it comes to the ablation zone where it's starting to melt and get a little bit smaller, and then it comes all the way down to that calving area where it breaks off into the water. So as it's breaking off and as it's melting, you'll get water, fresh water, coming from underneath the glacier and then melting at the very end, which is what you can see in this picture by that light blue water surrounded by the darker blue water. So that fresh water is what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about ocean currents and then salinity differences. So why are glaciers important? Well, we'll get into that a little more with the salinity and ocean currents next week, but really they're important because they're habitats for critters like these, and these guys as well. Alright, well that's been our first segment of We Love Science. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
You look at clouds and watch them swirl, and then you take us for a whirl and try to tell us that you know the truth. I was watching